The rain hit the windows of the big mansion softly that night. Richard stood alone, staring outside. The sky was dark. His heart was heavy. He was one of the richest men in the country. He owned big companies. He had many cars, big houses, and lots of money. But inside his home, he felt like a stranger. His wife, Grace, smiled only when she saw new jewelry or new clothes. His daughter, Sophia, loved to show off their wealth on social media. His son, Daniel, was quiet and simple. He always stayed close to his father. That evening, Richard sat at the big dining table. His family ate without a word to him. Grace didn't. Look at him. Sophia kept laughing at her phone. Only Daniel noticed his father's tired face. Dad, are you okay? Daniel asked softly. Richard smiled a little. I'm fine, son. But he was not fine. He was tired. Tired of fake smiles. Tired of being used for money. He began to wonder, do they really love me? Or do they just love my money? That night, after everyone slept, Richard called his assistant, Michael. Michael, he said, I need you to do something important. Move my money into a private account. Close the companies for now. Tell everyone that I am taking a long break. Michael was shocked. Sir, are you sure? This will change everything. That's what I want, Richard said calmly. I need to know who really loves me. No one should know I am still rich. The next morning, Richard gathered his family in the living room. The air felt cold, though the weather was warm. Grace walked in first. Why are we here so early? She asked, annoyed. I have bad news, Richard said slowly. I've lost everything. The company failed. The banks froze all accounts. We are broke. Grace gasped loudly. What? That can't be true. I wish it wasn't, Richard said. We must leave this mansion today. The only place we can go now is my father's old house in the village. Sophia screamed. Village? No way. Me? In a village? Daniel looked at his father with wide eyes. Dad, is this really happening? Richard nodded. Yes, son, it is. Grace stood up and shouted, You are useless. How can you lose everything? What kind of man are you? Richard said nothing. He turned and walked away quietly. Daniel followed him. Dad, don't worry. Everything will be fine, he said gently. Richard smiled at his son, tears in his eyes. Thank you, Daniel. You have no idea how much those words mean to me. That evening, the family packed a few clothes. The mansion was silent. No maids. No drivers. Richard drove them in an old car that Michael had bought. The road to the village was rough and dusty. Grace kept complaining. Sophia shut her window. It smells horrible, she said. Daniel sat in the back holding his father's hand. After many hours, he reached a small house with a rusty iron roof. The walls were made of mud bricks. Grace stepped out. Her mouth dropped open. Richard, are you mad? You want us to live here? Sophia slowly opened her door, covering her nose. What is this smell? This is my father's house, Richard said calmly. We will stay here. Grace shouted, You want me, Grace, to live here? After all those years of luxury, Sophia shook her head. There's no Wi-Fi, no AC. I can't stay here. Only Daniel helped carry the bags inside. The door creaked. The house was empty except for 2 plastic chairs and an old wooden table. The air smelled dusty. Grace refused to enter. Take me back, Richard. I won't stay here. We have no choice, Richard said. Sophia hissed. I should have stayed. With my boyfriend, Daniel looked at her. Can't we support Dad instead of complaining? Grace snapped. Shut up, boy. Daniel said nothing and helped his father arrange the room. Richard smiled and patted Daniel's back. Later that evening, Richard tried to boil water outside. He couldn't light the fire. His hands shook. Smoke burned his eyes. Daniel came and helped. I've seen village boys do this, he said. Thank you, son, Richard replied. You are making this easier for me. Grace sat on a rock nearby. This is a nightmare. No cream, no TV. She groaned. Sophia walked around with her phone held high. No Instagram, no TikTok. Are we still in this country? That night, they all slept in one room. One small mattress on the floor. Only a weak lantern gave light. Mosquitoes buzzed in the dark. Grace slapped her arms. This is horrible. Sophia tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Richard lay awake, staring at the roof. Daniel whispered, "Dad, we will make it." Those words touched Richard's heart. For the first time, he felt close to his son. The next morning, a loud rooster woke them up. "What kind of bird is that?" Grace shouted. Richard stood up. "It's morning, time for a new life." Sophia came outside looking tired and bitten by mosquitoes. "I can't stay here. I need to go back." Richard ignored. Hurry picked up a hoe. "We need to work if we want to eat." Grace laughed loudly. "Me, farm. Never." Sophia folded her arms. "I'll die first." Daniel took the HOA. "Let's go, Dad. I'll help you." Richard smiled proudly. He had tears in his eyes as they walked to the farm. Richard felt deep pain. But at least one person still stood with him. Back at the house, Grace watched the village chief under a mango tree. He wore rich clothes. Her eyes lit up. And so, the story of betrayal was about to begin. The sun burned hot that afternoon. The air in the village was thick. But inside Richard's heart, something felt even heavier. He had watched Grace that morning. She dressed in her best wrapper, sprayed perfume, and left the house smiling. Where was she going? Why did she look so happy? Richard stayed silent. He needed to see the truth with his own eyes. Grace, on the other hand, walked with a new kind of joy. The chief of the village, Chief Morgan, had promised her a new life. He was rich, powerful, and wanted to make her his queen. Grace's heart danced with excitement. Chief Morgan was waiting at the Golden Moon Lodge. He had already paid the young hotel worker to keep their meeting secret. When Grace entered the room, the chief smiled wide. "My queen, you look more beautiful today." Grace laughed sweetly. "Chief, you always know what to say." They sat together. He gave her cold drinks and roasted meat. "I have decided," the chief whispered. "I will send away my wives. I will build a new house for you. You will be my queen." Grace gasped. "Chief, are you serious?" "Very serious," he said. "Soon I will be king of this village. The old king is sick. The elders are already on my side." Grace's eyes sparkled. A new life was so close. "I will buy you gold, fine clothes, and land. Leave your poor husband. Come live with me," Chief Morgan said. Grace smiled and held his hand. "You don't know how much I've suffered in that village house. I am yours, Chief." Chief Morgan handed her a bundle of money. "Buy new clothes. Soon your house will be ready." Grace left the hotel, hiding the money in her wrapper. She smiled the whole way home. Her mind was full of dreams. She couldn't wait to tell Sophia. Back at home, Richard sat outside with Daniel, fixing an old bench. "Dad," Daniel asked, "where's Mom?" "She goes out every day." Richard sighed. "She says she goes to fetch firewood or to meet the women's group." Daniel shook his head. "But she never brings firewood. Us. And she never helps with the house." Richard kept quiet. Deep inside, fear and sadness filled his heart. Later that evening, Grace returned. She carried a nylon bag full of meat, oil, and canned fish. Richard asked, "Where did you get these things?" "A woman in the market gave them to me." Grace lead smoothly. That night, Grace whispered everything to Sophia about Chief Morgan's promise. Sophia's eyes grew wide. "Mom, are you serious?" Grace nodded. "Very serious." "He is richer than your father ever was." Sophia giggled. "If I find a rich man here too, I will never go back to the city." They laughed like two wicked sisters. But trouble was coming fast. Sophia had been meeting and married a man from the village named Mr. Brown. He gave her money and small gifts, They met in secret, away from his wife. But one afternoon, the news spread. Mrs. Brown, the man's wife, found out. She marched to Richard's house, angry and shouting, "Where is that shameless girl?" She screamed. Sophia sat outside, chewing gum. She crossed her legs slowly. Yes. "Who is shouting like a madwoman?" she asked. "You. Stay away from my husband." Mrs. Brown yelled. Sophia laughed. "Please, madam, your husband came to me." "What do you want me to do?" Mrs. Brown's eyes burned with rage. "You young rat. You want to destroy my home?" Sophia stood up. "Look at you. No wonder your husband is tired of you. Stay away, old woman." Mrs. Brown shook with anger. "God will judge you." She stormed out, her heart full of pain. But Richard had heard everything. He stepped outside slowly. "Sophia," he called softly. She rolled her eyes. "Now what?" "I heard what you said. Is it true? Are you seeing that man?" Sophia shrugged. "So what if I am?" Richard's heart broke. "His daughter doing this. It's my daughter. This is wrong," he said quietly. "You have your whole life ahead. Why destroy a family?" "Mind your business," Sophia snapped. "I am your father," Richard said softly. "It is my business." But Sophia turned and walked away. That night, Richard sat alone, his heart in pain. Everything was falling apart. The next morning, more. Trouble came. Michael, the assistant, called Richard. "Sir, I think it is time to end this test." "Why?" Richard asked. "Chief Morgan has been talking in the village. He plans to marry Grace. Everyone knows now." Richard's heart stopped. Fear and shock filled him. His wife ready to leave him. Later that day, Richard called Grace and the children. "I have something to tell you," he said. His voice was, but inside he was trembling. Grace walked in, smiling. "What now?" Richard looked at them all. "I am still rich," he said quietly. "I never lost the money. This was a test." Silence. Grace's face turned white. Sophia gasped. "What? You lied to us." Grace shouted, double quotes. "Yes," Richard said. "I needed to know who truly loved me." Tears filled his eyes. "Grace, you betrayed me." "Sophia, you shame me." Only Daniel stood by me. Grace tried to speak, but no words came. Richard looked at Daniel and smiled through his tears. "Thank you, son. You are my true family." Grace fell to her knees, crying. "Please, Richard, forgive me. I was scared." But Richard's heart was broken. He stood up and walked out into the bright sunlight. Now he knew the truth, and nothing would ever be the same again.